During the last videos, we have seen the extent and nature of the impact of the deprivation of urban services during times of armed conflicts. There is a need for a move from traditional assistance paradigm to one that takes account of the longer-term realities and needs in urban areas affected by ongoing armed conflict. In this video, we'd like you to suggest a way forward to best meet the challenges and to ensure the right response in the right place at the right time. The main objective is to stimulate a discussion on the relevance of humanitarian response to essential urban services disruption in protracted conflict. The challenge of maintaining essential services in urban contexts subject to protracted armed conflict is conceptualized here. The figure shows that the quality of the service or number of residents covered decrease cumulatively and progressively over time as a result of direct and indirect impacts. The impact on residents increases exponentially over time. The duration of this challenge should be taken into account in the humanitarian response as well as the scale of the challenge. Indeed, infrastructure is so complex in large cities that the restoration of part of it can immediately benefit several hundreds thousands of people, but the option is often too costly for municipalities and humanitarian agencies that are geared to more traditional emergency responses. For instance, in case of damage to water supply infrastructure, typical relief response such as water trucking to schools and IDP camps take no account of the repairs needed to the municipal network and critical infrastructure, which are essential to ensure service delivery not only for households but also for the emergency response themselves. However, distinctions between the stages of relief, rehabilitation, development response are not necessarily relevant in urban context. Multiple types of programs may be required simultaneously in the same city. For instance, in 2010 in Baghdad, the ICRC intervention covered the full spectrum. Large hospital and wastewater infrastructure rehabilitation projects were established to support the government's long-term development plan, alongside basic maintenance of existing health and water facilities, which could be labeled reconstruction, and water trucking programs to informal settlements of IDPs, a typical relief activity. Interconnectivity between essential services need to be understood and properly integrated into the humanitarian response in order to avoid counterproductive effects. For instance, in this picture, retrofitting the broken water supply network to this quarter without addressing the damaged sewage evacuation network would increase the exposure of the population to public health risk by causing the sewage to spill over into the streets. Essential services rely on three critical components: people, hardware, and consumable. Experience tends to show that of all the three components of an essential service, people may be the most crucial. Effective partnership with local authorities and service providers become indispensable in complex urban environments, much more than for rural areas where people can organize themselves around less sophisticated services. It is widely accepted that including beneficiaries in the conception, implementation, and management is vital to the effectiveness as well as to the sustainability of an intervention. However, community involvement in urban areas is very different from the common understanding based on rural experience. Working with local people to repair or rehabilitate essential services in urban contexts also poses some particular challenges. Humanitarian assistance should not focus only on community-based approach assistance. It is arguably more beneficial to restore water to an entire neighborhood by repairing, for instance, the transmission line, than to assist household-level coping mechanisms. International humanitarian law, IHL, offers a degree of protection. However, while IHL protects all service components from the direct impact of armed conflict, there are specific challenges arising from its interpretation and application in urban warfare. in particular the extent to which IHL provides protection against the indirect or cumulative impact of hostilities on essential services. The ICRC is actively seeking to address some of these challenges, in particular through its work on the use of explosive weapons in populated areas. Donors should reconsider the funding schemes to ensure that they match the scale and duration of the challenge. Relief, rehabilitation, and development efforts will be much more expensive and take far longer if humanitarian agencies, in coordination with local service providers, are unable to mitigate the consequences of indirect and cumulative effects. 12-month funding designed for disaster relief or very short conflicts are not adequate to stabilize or restore essential urban services in protracted armed conflicts. To appropriately address the complexity of essential urban services during protracted armed conflicts, larger budgets that cover a longer period are needed. Finally, more research needs to be conducted on the impact of disruptions to urban services on people's lives over time. One priority area is the need to gain an understanding of how disruption to services affect people's livelihood, food security, human security, and health. Many humanitarian agencies have programs targeting the direct impact of this disruption, but not the indirect or cumulative impact on the broader nexus of interrelated humanitarian issues of concern. I hope that this video has helped you to have a much needed discussion on how to develop a better approach to assisting people in urban areas that have been affected by protracted armed conflict. If you'd like to know more details on the topic, you can read this ICRC publication, which combines current research with over 3 decades of ICRC experience in urban areas. Now, in order to summarize these 3 videos on urban services during protracted conflict, let's watch this short animation.